29th of February 2020, the last day of winter in Russia. My name is Sergey Baklykov, today together with Ronald from Texas. There was a glitch with my camera and traditional beginning with me was not recorded, but I had to do this voiceover for an opening now. Anyway, I continue my video blog today from Troitsk Trinity Square of Petrogradsky district of St. Petersburg, right next to Peter and Paul Fortress. This Saturday afternoon, here is an agreed with authorities march in memory of Boris Nemtsov, who used to be one of the most known and significant opposition politicians in Russia, liberals. I mean, opposite to Putin and his authority, of course. Nemtsov was murdered exactly 5 years ago next to Kremlin in Moscow at the Big Moskvoretsky Bridge. Really, just like in 200 meters from Moscow Kremlin. 5 of killers was found and jailed, but those are just a puppets. The names of the customers who ordered this are still never found, which is more important. In my opinion, there is two most likely versions of murder. It was made by somebody to show the loyalty to Putin, but they worked too hard, and I think it couldn't be agreed with Putin because it's too dirty work just really next to Kremlin, you know, even in a so-called dashing, full of chaos 1990s in Russia, nobody ever let themselves killing politicians or businessmen next to Kremlin. The second version is Boris Nemtsov was killed by an order of his own side and became a victim of a big political game, sacrificed for the sake of provocation, like one of the strongest against Kremlin politicians killed next to Kremlin. People don't like making too complicated conclusions, so the simplest conclusion they are gonna make is he killed by the Kremlin. You may agree or not agree with this, but these are two of my critical and opposite versions. We have to consider both. On the place of murder at that bridge, there is now spontaneous memorial, consisted of the flowers, candles and portraits of Boris Nemtsov. And every year at the anniversary day of his murder, people in different cities of Russia, especially Moscow and St. Petersburg, the liberals are making the marches to commemorate him and to perform against an active, like nowadays, authority of Russia. Now here is a huge chance that this march will turn into dramatical continue, because it is definitely turns into a meeting. And these days this is a pretty important in Russia because there's now very strict rules, very strict laws against the meetings. So, and here I know that was agreed just a march, not a meeting. And now it's like technically it's illegal meeting.
Свободная Россия! Свободная Россия! Россия будет свободна! Россия будет свободна! Россия будет свободна!
So, Boris Nemtsov Memorial March turned to a political meeting, the protest rally against Putin's authority, with lots of calls to keep fighting against it. They are declared such as slogans like "Freedom to Russia," "Putin for resignation," "Freedom to political prisoners," "Russia without Putin," and more. What about me? If you want to know my opinion, I can't say I fully support any of them, nor opposition, nor Putin. There is many things I like and dislike about both sides. Many young people who don't remember chaos of 1990s now just sincerely believe that if liberals will come to an authority, it will be better for them and for all the country. But I have a concern that what mostly liberal leaders supported by 1990s oligarchs once is just to keep selling off Russia by pieces and all its natural resources. They are gonna let to occupy the country by an oligarchs. I remember how in 1990s Russian people was fucked up big time. They believed the life will get better, but it has never happened back in those days. Curious that back then the president of Russia, Boris Yeltsin, was considered as a cool guy. Interesting, right? The country lived bad, but president in the eyes of the West was good. Now Russia is way better, but Putin is bad. Seems like a very interesting, consistent pattern, which tells a lot, at least gives the ground for minds. Putin seems to me like a very stubborn, strong KGB guy, but definitely smart enough. He was born in USSR and seems loves his country. I believe he is a patriot in like his own way, but he is. And in my opinion, what he wants is Russia to be controlled by Russia. What happens now is a huge confrontation of Putin and the world's elite who's trying financially occupy Russia. The circle of NATO in the same time is getting more and more narrow around Russia. This is what I like about Putin. He's trying to keep Russia independent from the world's elites. But what I don't like, it seems like in terms to keep an order in the country has to be more and more totalitarian, because there's enough of forces inside of Russia that is trying to make something like a revolution or so. And too much power for police, Guard, army, and FSB, which is a former KGB. But it's a fact that Russian people who lived under Tsar's authority for centuries and then under Stalin, they got used to a heavy-hand way of authority, heavy hand, strong hand. Most of, especially older people, are rather ready to live in a kind of authoritarian regime in order to save Russia's identity and independence than in a totally free but weak country which will be just sold out and fall apart like it was with the USSR. The Soviet Union was falling apart because people wanted like freedoms, but the country was literally sold out for some, for some elementary things. Older people learned the lesson and now want to make the same mistake again. That's why, objectively, way more Russians support Putin other than liberals. These events shows this perfectly. Like, look, everybody who are against the nowadays authority could come here. But here's, even though it was a lot of police, but they were all pretty quiet. But what we see, 3, 4, maybe 5,000 people for 5 million St. Petersburg came here. So they had a perfect chance to come and to show their position, but came only 3, 4,000 people. As a blogger, I'm not taking sides, but just showing the facts. Look at this square. Saturday afternoon, this is a day off. Perfect weather, but only 3, maybe 5,000 people came here to show they are not agree with nowadays authorities. It seems like the government actually made a wise move that they allowed it all to be here, because even though many people came and here, it turned the meeting to demonstration, and they declared many anti-Putin, anti-government words. However, nobody was coming here like the police and so, and they gave people to release this team. You know what I mean, to release this team, but now everybody little by little going away from here.
Дружба за нас! Дружба за нас! Руку другу дай скорей!
Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Now you've been an eyewitness of one real Russian march and meeting. Comment, like, subscribe.
В действительности это все имело бы смысл, если бы это не делалось там.